What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today once again we're going to be running up everything happening recently with Destiny 2. So the Curse of Osiris DLC, some updates, changes and things coming up to be aware of. I've actually been away, unable to make videos for the past couple of days, so this video is going to be summarizing and going through everything you might have missed. So beginning with some things announced from Bungie directly, the first one's actually pretty big, and this is the reset time as a whole for Destiny 2 changing. So you guys are probably used to the same time every single Tuesday for the past 3 years since Destiny 1. That time is now going to be changing to match up with when events and normal DLCs and new content generally goes live. So to put it simply, the time when Iron Banner normally goes live in the evening or afternoon, depending on time zone, that is when the new weekly reset is going to be to match up with when new content comes out. Obviously, the timings are a bit of a mess right now with daylight savings and the clocks going back, so everyone's a little bit confused, but for the most part, it's going to be 9 AM Pacific time, 12 PM Eastern, or 5 PM GMT in the UK. So just be aware the weekly reset is going to be different, not the very next one, but the second the DLC goes live on the 5th of December, when Curse of Osiris, that is when the new reset time kicks in. And yeah, pretty big change. For the very first time in Destiny's history, it's always been the exact same time, very, very early in America, and pretty early in the morning for the UK, but now it's going to be later on in the day, and it's probably going to be a bit more convenient for most people. The actual reason they're doing this is because events and DLCs, like I said, go live later on around Iron Banner time, whereas the reset will happen earlier on. So a lot of times people are doing their weekly milestones, they get their loot before the new content is out, and it kind of messes up their progress. So to avoid that, and to avoid Bungie basically telling you don't play the game for 6 or 7 hours, or even to take the game offline, which has happened before, the weekly reset time has now been changed. So that is all the info you should know and why it's been done. So on the 5th of December with the Curse of Osiris and of course Season 2, that is when the new timings kick in. So something else they're also doing with the launch of the Curse of Osiris on December 5th is going to be updating the high-powered consoles, so the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. I actually talked about the new Xbox recently on my channel, but so far Destiny 2 hasn't actually been included on the enhanced list. So games that have a high frame rate, better graphics, basically a better resolution, and these games are using the power of the Xbox, which of course is now technically the most powerful console in the world right now. We know the PS4 Pro does use it. Of course, it can do 4K and HDR, but so far nothing about the Xbox One X. That's going to change on the 5th of December, and both of them are going to be getting a little bit of an update, and both of them will be doing HDR, which is high dynamic range, basically means better colors in the graphics, and also 4K resolution. So nice to see both consoles getting a bit of an upgrade with their utilized power. So something else Bungie also announced is the Clarion Call, which we know is starting on November 17th. And this is going to be essentially double XP for your XP booster. So not light level or power level, your actual XP level meter. The thing that gets you bright engrams, that is going to jump up twice as fast from the 17th of November. And the purpose of this is to get more bright engrams. Of course, Season 2 is going to be beginning, meaning all the Season 1 gear stuff right now in your current bright engrams, that's all going to go. So the emotes, the ships, the shaders, all that stuff, that is no longer going to be available in Season 2. So the point of this Clarion Call is for another chance to get that Season 1 stuff. This time it's themed around Hawthorne and her clan. So of course, if you're in a clan, that's how you get the bonus XP. But we also know there's going to be more later on with other characters. So being for Warlock, Hunter, Titan, all the locations. So this time it's for clans, but in future there will be more Clarion Calls for different playstyles and different activities. So moving on, we're also going to talk about some pretty interesting stuff that came out about the Curse of Osiris DLC from an interview with a website called Every Eye. So of course, a ton of stuff about the expansion was unveiled at Paris Games Week, and also there, this website got to talk with Bungie and ask them some questions about the raid, new activities, new content. Not an absolute massive amount of detailed stuff, but of course, some pretty interesting answers nonetheless. And of course, it's also worth noting the site is in Italian, so you do have to translate it if you don't speak Italian, meaning the translation isn't 100% accurate, and certain words or phrases may be a little bit off, but you do have a general idea of what they're talking about. So something pretty interesting they asked about was, of course, the raid activity, the thing everyone wants to know about right now, the biggest mystery of the expansion. We know it's called a raid activity and some kind of new raid content also on Mercury. That's pretty much all we know. So the interviewer asked Dave Matthews from Bungie about the raid, and he said, the exact definition of the new raid activity has aroused much curiosity since the announcement of the expansion, but during November we'll have 3 stream events to talk in detail about the Curse of Osiris. One of them will focus on the activity in question, so I can only advise you to follow them. So as he said, Bungie is well aware of how confused people are about this new raid activity, and they will be talking about it in the live streams, which is good to know. Like I always say, if it was a straight up new raid, I think they would just say that. But instead, I do think it's going to be some kind of other 6-man activity in PvE similar to a raid, but not exactly a raid, which is why they're being very, very deliberate of not calling it a new raid. So until we get more information about this, we can't really speculate anymore. We'll just have to wait and see what this raid turns out to be. But as always, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. So a pretty strange question that I've seen asked quite a lot of times that they talked about in the interview was that this DLC is not going to contain anything to do with Trials of Osiris from Destiny 1, of course. Trials of the Nine is the new thing for Destiny 2. This expansion is about Osiris himself, not a new Trials mode. So there's not a new Trials of Osiris mode. That was Destiny 1. We've got Trials of the Nine now, and this expansion is more about Osiris, the PvE aspect, with of course some PvP stuff. So they also mentioned that Mercury Patrol is going to contain all the activities you would normally expect on most planets and locations. So Lost Sectors, Adventures, Primary Missions, the Lighthouse where Brother Vance is going to be as the NPC, and also this big triangular portal, which we've seen multiple times, and they said in the interview that this does take you to the Infinite Forest area, which is very mysterious in itself and apparently procedurally generated. Now, by far one of the most interesting things from this interview was talking about the Vex. They mentioned we're going to get new types of Vex in the expansion, but he said, this expansion is all about the Vex. We want to let you know how they operate, how they think, how they can exist outside of time, how their machines work, how the Vex uses them to achieve their goals, and during the expansion you're going to know different aspects of this mysterious race in different timelines. So a pretty interesting quote in itself, and it's very good to hear from a lore standpoint, and definitely confirms you're going to know a lot more about the Vex. And I'm hoping what I've said before is we kind of get a level of detail that we did from the Taken King about the Hive. We know where they came from, their origins, why they operate, and a bit of a backstory into the Vex, who are by far the most mysterious and kind of unknown races in all of Destiny. We know quite a lot about most enemies, but the Vex are a big mystery, and he even mentioned how the Vex inside the Radiolario fluid actually use their machines to do their work and achieve their goals, which is something you never ever hear Bungie talk about. They've been very vague about that aspect of the Vex for a long time, so it seems with this expansion they're going to be a bit more open, and we'll finally learn about the most mysterious race in Destiny. So another pretty valid question was about the end game of Destiny 2 and asking if it's going to improve with the expansion. Again, a very important question right now. And he said that Bungie are always looking to improve the player's experience, and just like Destiny 1, which improved and evolved over time with updates, Destiny 2 is also going to, and they're still learning, collecting data, and making changes. So more or less, they're pretty much always trying to improve the end game, and this stuff does take time. Some of these are going to be an update, some with expansions, but of course, over time, the game should be changed and updated. Now, they also talked about the Egyptian theme of Osiris and his gear, how Sagira is going to be the first time we interact with another ghost shell, and they're also going to include a good amount of weapons and armor in Osiris style for all three classes. So very good news to hear. Expect a lot of Trials of Osiris themed gear in the expansion, with of course that Egyptian kind of golden look. A pretty strange question was asking about Xur and kind of the end game and quality of stuff that he offers, if they're going to be improving it. Definitely not a question I would expect him to answer, but he said, generally the end game gear, there's going to be some changes to the high level stuff and how you earn them. They're going to be observing how these changes affect the experience. So essentially the loot system is going to be getting a bit of an update and kind of overhaul in terms of dropping gear. Again, how that works, I have no idea, but it's pretty strange how they asked about Xur, and Bungie's response was talking about how the endgame gear is going to have a bit of an upgrade in terms of how the stuff drops. So maybe some of it is going to include Xur and his inventory of exotics. Maybe there'll be some changes there, but pretty interesting stuff nonetheless. Now, they also talked about Crucible, some info we didn't know previously. They said the expansion is going to have 3 new Crucible maps, one of them PlayStation exclusive, which we've already seen. That's the Wormhaven one on Titan. So that is the PlayStation exclusive one. You can see gameplay of that on screen right now. But there won't be a new Crucible mode in this expansion. But they said they are working on some new ones which are going to be added when they're ready. So it's hard to tell the exact words they use in the translations of Italian, of course. But it sounds like they might be adding a new mode simply when it's ready and not in a DLC or expansion. Again, it's hard to tell with the exact words used in the translation from Italian, but it does sound like they might be not waiting until a DLC and maybe dropping a new update with a new mode, maybe a new map as well. We have seen that before with Shores of Time and Emperor's Respite, and of course the Eternity map with Trials. So it does actually make a lot of sense if you think about it. Obviously, this is just my speculation, but if you think about the Crucible playlist, you got quick play and competitive. If they start adding new modes that are just for DLC owners, it's going to mess things up a bit and definitely mess with matchmaking, which is not what they want to do. So maybe the reason they're kind of avoiding adding lots of new Crucible stuff inside DLC is because of this matchmaking, which we know they definitely want to keep simplified. Obviously, those 3 Crucible maps are going to mess things up a little bit, but maybe they are actually going down the path of more free stuff and less of the Crucible content being locked behind DLC. So again, that's just my speculation, but it's hard to tell exactly the wording of this interview is translated after all. But they did say Bungie are working on some kind of new Crucible mode, which won't be in the expansion, but added sometime soon. I did cover in a recent video a couple weeks back how the voice actor for Lord Shaxx said how he recorded some new voice lines for an upcoming expansion for Destiny 2. So it could be the Curse of Osiris or it could be the Warmind DLC, but I'm doubting if it was just new maps, they'd need him to record new lines because there's nothing new he would say in just a new Crucible map. So it's some pretty interesting stuff, but there's definitely going to be some more Crucible content beyond what they're just announcing right here. So of course this Wednesday we got our very first look at the Osiris DLC through the live streams. Make sure you are keeping an eye out on this channel right here on Wednesday. We're going to be breaking down all the new info, the new gameplay, and an absolute ton of stuff to cover. Make sure you are ready. As always, if you did enjoy this video and would like to support the channel, then a like rating before you go would be amazing. Really appreciate all of your constant support. But lots of cool videos coming soon. Make sure you are subscribed. But in the meantime, if you want to watch another video from me, then you can click the image on screen. And I'll see you guys in the next one.